Hello and welcome to the first episode of a new series I will be doing for Scarlet and Violet. It's called VGC Deep Dives, and what we'll be doing in it is each episode we'll be looking at a different Pokemon within Scarlet and Violet and looking at how they can be used within VGC. VGC is the official competitive format for the video game franchise. It's played as doubles, and you can bring 4 of the 6 Pokemon. Each Pokemon has to be unique, and each Pokemon must hold a unique item. So today, for the first episode, because there's been a lot of talk around this Pokemon as a threat, we are going to look at Dondozo. And let's get straight into it. So Dondozo is a water-type Pokemon. It has very high HP and defense. It has decent attack, but poor special defense, and it also has a low speed. Low speed means that it can do well under Trick Room. For those of you that don't know, Trick Room changes the speed tiers so that the slowest Pokemon moves first. It's because of these stats, it can be used as a physical sweeper or as a defensive tank. Its abilities, so Unaware, it ignores other Pokemon's stat changes when taking or doing damage. So if someone has a defense boost and you attack them, you ignore the defense boost. And on the other end of the spectrum, if something attacks you with +5 attack, that +5 is ignored. When I say stuff like +1 and +5, these are stat boosts. So a stat boost, it can be boosted up to the maximum of 5 times, 6 times. No, I'm pretty sure it's 5 times. And once this stat reaches its max, it cannot be boosted any further. So when I reference things like +1, +2, +3, it's the stat changes. Similarly, you can go the other way, -1, -2, -3, etc. Oblivious. You cannot be infatuated or taunted. We don't care too much about that, but being immune to Intimidate makes it really strong as a sweeper because it means that your attack stat cannot be lowered. Water Veil is also very useful, as when a Pokemon is burnt, their attack stat is halved, so being able to not get burnt is very useful for a sweeper. As we mentioned previously, its type is water, so defensively it's a great type, being weak only to 2 types, which is electric and grass. And like we previously said, it can either be a defensive tank or physical sweeper. Here are some sample sets that I drafted up. They are standard 252, 252 4 stats. So EVs and IVs is a discussion for another video. But the EVs, so IVs is what your base stat will be, and then EVs are how far that stat can go. So by maxing out our health and defense on the tank set, we can be a useful tank, and also very supportive. So Body Press is a move that uses your defense stat to calculate the damage, and as our defense stat is higher than our attack, it is our strongest move that's available to us. Yawn is useful, so when you yawn an opposing Pokemon, they become drowsy and then they will fall asleep the next turn. Sleep is a very useful status, as when a Pokemon is asleep, it cannot attack. Sleep can last for as long as 2 turns. Leftovers on the tanky set also allow us to recover HP each turn. The Life Orb Sweeper set, so this is a set that I'll be using in a battle that you'll see later. We've got Order Up, Waterfall, Rock Slide, and Protect. So Waterfall is there for stab damage, and it can also flinch opponents. Order Up is a dragon move exclusive to Dondozo, and the unique thing about Dondozo is when it's partnered with Tatsugiri, Tatsugiri has a unique ability called Commander that when it is next to Dondozo, Dondozo gets a boost in all stats, and this boost is +2 in all stats. However, the drawback is that Dondozo cannot switch out, and neither can Tatsugiri, and Tatsugiri is no longer able to attack. However, Order Up, when you are next to a Tatsugiri and you use Order Up, you'll gain a boost depending on what type of Tatsugiri it is. There's 3 types of Tatsugiri. One offers attack and one offers speed. Those are the main 2, and so we'll ignore the third one because the main things you want is a boost in attack or a boost in speed. So partners and synergies. As mentioned, Tatsugiri is a vital partner for Dondozo. We also have Drifloon and Flamigo here. So the strategy behind this is that the reason why I've chosen to focus on these 3 specifically is because there's a strategy that uses all 3 of these. So you would start leading with Tatsugiri and Drifloon. Drifloon would use Explosion, whilst Tatsugiri uses Endure, and Tatsugiri will be holding a Toxic Orb. So a Toxic Orb will poison the Tatsugiri, and then each turn it will lose some health. So by enduring on that first turn, we get rid of the Drifloon and bring in our Dondozo. Dondozo gets his boosts, and then the following turn, Tatsugiri will faint, and we're able to bring in Flamigo. And then because of this, both Flamigo and Dondozo can attack. Flamigo has a unique ability called Co-Star, so that when it is next to a Pokemon with boosts, it copies those boosts. So you end up with 2 sweepers, both with +2 in every stat. And you'll see this ability later on of how this can work. I was not able to get footage of me doing it, so there will be footage provided of someone else doing it, so that you can see how this strategy would work. Drifloon can also use things like Will-O-Wisp to burn opponents and Tailwind to boost the speed of your team for 4 turns. And Tatsugiri, if you are in a position where you're not locked out of Tatsugiri, it's very much a glass cannon with high speed and high special attack. However, it has great supportive moves such as Muddy Water and Icy Wind. Icy Wind lowers opponent's speed stat, and Muddy Water lowers their accuracy. Both deal damage as well. So some offensive calculations. So at +2, using the Life Orb set that we mentioned previously, against the Torkoal in Sun, so Sun halves the damage of water type attacks, keep this in mind, it's doing up to 75%. Torkoal is one of the highest defense Pokemon available in Scarlet and Violet, and while in Sun as well, it's a lot of damage to be doing, so you can very easily take out a Torkoal after it has received some damage, or you can double into it to take it out immediately. Mousehold is another Pokemon that has been identified as a potential threat. We don't know how the meta is going to shape up, as we are only in the first week of the game. So we are trying to predict what may be used and what might be used, and that's how we have come to the conclusion of doing these offensive calcs. Against a Mousehold, we are taking it out no problem at +2. Same with Fluttermane, who has been identified as another glass cannon threat. And Roaring Moon, who is a very strong dragon type that's available. And you can see with Order Up, we're just taking it out. So some defensive calcs now. So Arboliva is one of the highest special attacking grass type Pokemon. So this is a big weakness to Dondozo, but we can see at +2, while in grassy terrain, if they're using Energy Ball, we manage to live that attack, which is very impressive, as this is probably the strongest special attacker available currently, or one of the strongest. Similarly, Iron Hands is one of the strongest physical electric types available, and if we boost his electric typing with Terra Electric, and he uses Thunder Punch, without any boosts, he's only doing about 70%, which again is very strong. We can terrestrialize into a different type, which will reduce his damage even further, or we can have our boosts, which again would reduce his damage to maybe having to be a 3-hit KO. And then if we look at Mousehold, so Technician boosted Population Bomb. Population Bomb is a new move that hits 10 times and is boosted by Technician on each hit. we can see that we're living very well without any boosts. Oh no, we have a +2 boost, sorry, that's my fault. So at +2, we are living at 3 hits. So doing a maximum of 46%, we get either 2 or 3 extra turns. And this is using the sweeper set rather than the defensive set. So with the defensive set, this will be even lower. So how can we counter Dondozo? So Haze eliminates all stat changes. So as previously mentioned, once Dondozo comes in and gets those stat changes and is next to Tatsuguri, Tatsuguri cannot attack. So if we haze away those stat changes, we have a Dondozo who cannot switch out without his boosts, and that makes it very easy to deal with. In addition to that, as it's a physical attacker, Intimidate is also a good option, as lowering its attack is always good if it's a physical attacker. And a new item that's been introduced in this generation is the Mirror Herb. So with a Mirror Herb, when an opponent receives stat boosts, you can copy those stat boosts. So back to the strong grass type that we mentioned earlier, if we have this as a strong threat and then we get these boosts as well, we are doing massive damage to Dondozo and other Pokemon, as this now becomes a strong sweeper. Another thing you can do is Will-O-Wisp, again to neuter the attack stat. However, if it has Water Veil, that's not going to do too much, so I wouldn't rely on Will-O-Wisp. Another thing is high special attackers. As we mentioned, its weakest stat is its special defense, so using high special attackers is going to deal with it quite well. So now we're going to take a look at a battle that I did. There's also the team paste that I used. This team is not meant to be used competitively. It was made to prove a concept of how Dondozo can be used. And there is also a link to a video of the strategy that we previously talked about. The presentation that I'm using will be available on the Discord, and if you're not in the Discord, it will be available in the description of this video. So let's go over and have a look at the battle. So I want to do that. Okay, so we'll reset and let's turn the volume off. Okay, so my opponent leads with Brute Bonnet and Pamot. I lead with Dondozo and Scissor. I protect turn 1 to protect against the fake out, and then I use Pounce, which is another new move, and we use that to take out the Bonnet as it does double damage. So here they send out Mousehold. Mousehold we've identified as a threat, so we swap to our Tatsuguri and we get our boost on Dondozo to hopefully take it out immediately. We Terra type into our Dragon to avoid the Thunder Punch, and there we go, we take it out immediately. Murkrow comes in here, so Murkrow uses Haze, which removes a stat. As we mentioned, that's a good way to deal with Dondozo. We use Order Up to take out Palmot, and we get a boost from that. And then it just left Murkrow. So Murkrow will typically run Foul Play, and here it does, and that takes us out because of our stat boosts in attack. And then we clean up Murkrow with Scissor and Tatsuguri. So this showcases potentially how you might switch around to put your Dondozo into a good position to deal with certain threats. And it also showcases how you don't necessarily have to do that immediately. As you can see, Tatsuguri is more than capable of dealing damage. The only thing that I think would make Dondozo better if it has higher speed, but again, we could do an alternative method and use Trick Room. However, I don't feel like that gives you the most value, as you have to waste turns setting up that Trick Room, and you're already using 2 slots for Tatsuguri and Dondozo. We didn't get to use Co-Star either, which is a shame, but we didn't use the strategy with Driflim. As said, you can see that strategy in the video that's linked in the presentation, which will be on the Discord. And if you're not in the Discord, you can join that through the link under this video. So, that is everything. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any recommendations of how to improve the deep dives or anything you would like to see in the deep dives, any specific Pokemon, then please tell me, as this is being made to help people, and to help people I want it to be the best resource it can be, so don't be shy about any criticism or recommendations. I hope you all enjoyed watching.